All right, let's just jump right in. We're surrounded by data, right? Polls, headlines, stats, they're everywhere. But have you ever stopped to think about where all that information actually comes from? Well, it all boils down to one thing, a question. And here's the kicker. The answer you get is only ever as good as the question that was asked in the first place.
So let's take this one. Do people get happier as they get older? Seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? It's something I bet we've all wondered about at some point. But when you actually try to answer it, well, that's where it gets interesting. It's like a puzzle, because the answer you find can be totally different based on who you're asking, and even more importantly, how you ask them.
And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to build a kind of blueprint for what makes a really good question. The goal here is that by the end of this, you'll have the tools to spot the bad ones, the tricky ones, and really get a handle on the data that's shaping the world around us.
Okay, so step 1, define and scope. Before you even think about writing a question, you've got to lay the foundation. It's all about figuring out your terms and, what you're actually trying to investigate.
And this is a perfect example of just how fuzzy our day-to-day language can be. I mean, look at these questions. The first one asks, who's stronger? Okay, but stronger how? Are we talking about bench pressing or maybe running a marathon? Endurance? And then there's the one about who's better at math. Better how? Faster at calculations, better at solving creative problems. You see, without a super clear definition, these questions are basically impossible to answer in a meaningful way. Now, in the world of data and research, there's a word for this thing you're trying to measure. It's called a variable. I know it sounds a little technical, but it's really not. It's just the main idea you're trying to get at. Strength, math ability, or that big one, happiness. So the most important thing, the first thing, is that you have to define that variable. You've got to be crystal clear. Okay, so you've nailed down your variable. You know what you're measuring. The next big piece of the puzzle is deciding who you're going to ask. And this is huge because the group you choose to question is every bit as important as the question you're asking. And we've got two main ways to think about this. On one hand, you could do a census. So say you want to know the average height of a rugby team. That's easy enough, right? You just go and measure every single player. You've asked everyone in the group. That's a census. But what if you want to know the most popular radio station in an entire city? There's no way you're going to ask every single person. So instead, you ask a smaller, representative group, and that's what we call a sample. All right, let's move on to step 2, ask without bias. So you know what you're measuring, and you know who you're asking. Now comes the really tricky part, actually writing the question. And believe me, this is where things can get messy. Bias, confusion, all sorts of gremlins can sneak into the wording. Let's look at this one here. Have you visited the museum recently? It sounds harmless, right? But the killer is that one little word, recently. I mean, what does that even mean? For me, recently might be in the last month. For you, it could be the last year. The data you get back is going to be all over the place, totally useless, because everyone is basically answering their own version of the question. Right? Is it the last week? The last month? The last 5 years? Who knows? Without a clear, specific time frame, you just can't compare the answers you get. A yes from one person means something completely different than a yes from someone else. You'd be so much better off asking something specific, like, have you visited the museum in the last 3 months? Now that gives you solid data. Okay, check this next one out. It's about junk food in schools. Just take a second to read that statement. See if you can spot the issue. It's a little sneaky because what they've done is they've crammed two completely different ideas into one single sentence. This has a name. It's called a double-barreled question. Basically, it's making you answer two things at the same time. Think about it. What if you totally agree that junk food causes health problems, but you don't think it should be banned from schools? How do you answer? You can't. There's no option for that. Any good survey would break this up into two separate, simple questions. Now, sometimes the question itself seems okay, but it's the answer choices that are the real problem. Let's take a look at this question about watching TV. The options you get are 1 to 5 hours or more than 5 hours. Seems fine at first glance, but it's actually got some major flaws. Yeah, think about it. What if you only watch, say, 30 minutes of TV a day? Where do you go? There's no box for you to check, so your answer just disappears. And what if you watch exactly 5 hours? Which box do you pick then? The categories are, well, they're not exhaustive, meaning they don't cover everyone, and they overlap. It's just a classic mistake in how you design a survey. Oh, and here's another trap we see all the time. The question gives you a statement and just asks if you agree or disagree.
But pay close attention to the wording. It starts off with this positive statement. The current prime minister is doing a good job. This, my friends, is a leading question. It's not neutral at all. By framing it positively from the get-go, it's kind of nudging you towards agreeing. A much better, more impartial way to ask would be something like, how would you rate the job performance of the current prime minister? See how different that feels? It lets you decide.
Man, this list of bad questions is the gift that keeps on giving. Look at the next one. Do you eat fish regularly? Again with the vague words. What on earth is regularly? Once a week? Once a month? And then there's the last one, forcing you to pick only one favorite activity. I mean, come on. What if you love sports and seeing your friends? It's a false choice that just doesn't reflect real life.
So, okay, we've gone through all these different ways a question can totally fall apart. But let's pull it all together now. Why does any of this actually matter to you? Why is this important to know? Well, because it gives you a superpower, really, a critical toolkit. From this point on, anytime you see a poll in the news or a headline with some big statistic, you can run it through this simple checklist. First, define the terms. Ask yourself, what are they really talking about here? Second, check the group. Who did they actually ask to get this data? Was it a good sample? And third, spot the bias. Is the question trying to lead me somewhere? Is it vague or forcing me into a box? So with that, the next time you see a statistic pop up on your screen, you won't just take it at face value. You'll have the power to be a critical thinker. You can look behind the numbers and ask the single most important question there is. Hey, was the question they used to get this data any good in the first place?